Welcome again. My name is Maja Mazurkiewicz. I'm a host of the Anatomy of Disinformation TVP World show on disinformation, and we are kicking it off with the second panel of the day at the Brussels room, and it's going to be about connected but protected, the digital pillar of modern democracy. That is obviously a huge challenge for today's, and I would like to welcome to the stage Ieva Ilves, advisor on cybersecurity policy international cooperation. Hello. Thank
you. Good morning, everyone. Without further ado, I'll get the panel. We are quite many. We don't have that much time, so we will try to be short, crisp, and clear, because the topic on control is huge, and it can go all kinds of directions. So I'll do a very brief introduction. As mentioned, my name is Ieva Ilves. I come from Latvia. I've worked more than 2 decades in Latvian government, different agencies, but currently work for myself with different, I think, stakeholders who advance digital resilience, but work a lot in Ukraine myself, advising some institutions there. So we are lucky to have, I think, very diverse panel from regional perspective, not maybe from gender. That's a work to do. I just realized when I spoke word diversity. So we have on the panel, and to no particular order, I'll just ask the panelists to nod their heads. Deputy Minister from Ukraine, from Ministry of Digital Transformation, Mr. Balashov. Balashov? Correct. We have Minister of Defense from Kosovo, Mr. Maqedonci. Did I do right? We have a minister from for Resilience and Preparedness. I just learned that it's a recent title, so we will look forward to hear from you from Denmark. We have Minister Vengu from Albania, Minister of Defense. I'm trying to also keep an eye contact. We have Secretary of State from Poland, Mr. Standerski, correct? Good. Ministry of Digital Affairs, State Secretary. And whom am I missing? I'm missing France, Director for Euro-Atlantic Security, Ministry for Armed Forces, Mr. Escorcia, correct. So let me dive in. We have a topic, connected but protected, really like the crisp title. And all of that in context of protecting democracy, be efficient, be secure, defend our citizens in a very complex geopolitical now situation. And I would love to start the discussion with both paying respect to Ukraine for incredible resilience you've shown and being a role model to all of us. But I would like you to, Deputy Minister, to kick off from a few points from your experience. To be and remain democracy at war and be digital and connected. Any your favorite lessons learned or experience you want to share? Because I imagine it would be hundreds of pages we all going to learn. Share with us, and we'll then take it from there.
Thank you so much. I think I have something to share because actually we also didn't, we still solving some issues, right? We are still on our progress, but definitely we identify a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that we must done before, and so what I will try to be short. I will try to identify some critical points. First of one, and maybe this is very obvious, actually, and it was obvious for us. It was obvious for any service of cybersecurity, telecommunications providers, anyone. This is following the rules that we already know, right? The best practices in cybersecurity, in digital resilience, it's public. It's not a secret. It's a very obvious and logical things. But but it must be done and must be done with a high quality. And this is the issue in not only in our infrastructure, it's an issue in the world. I saw a lot of cases when in the some Western auditors can close the audits just because we need time to market, we need save money or something like that. So, and this is the evil. This is the thing that make a fundamental errors in case of risks will happen. So the quality of this rules is very important. Let me be more concrete. It's what I can share. Please identify and classify your critical thing that not only power grids and so on, that's very obvious. Our experience showed that financial services, payment services, health systems, any other civilian things can also be a target, a military target. Maybe we are not expecting it because of Geneva Convention and so on, but our enemy not always promises to play by the rules. And Ukraine is a showcase that it doesn't work. We have missile attacks on our healthcare institutions and so on and so on. Payment services, just imagine that your citizens, hundreds of thousands of citizens can make a digital payment with their PayPass. This is crisis. It's terrible. So this is a thing that must be very resilient. How to achieve this resilience? One more thing that we are continuing solving. I'm solving it actually. So this is a very resilient infrastructure with cloud. How? This is a good question. Cloud should be sovereign, local, or it should be, or it can be abroad, like some hyperscalers. My opinion, it should be all of them. It must be sovereign solutions with high requirements with confidentiality, plus sovereign cloud in your country that's under your control. So the multi-cloud is an answer for resilience. How it can be, can be a lot of different configurations, but multi-cloud, it must not be one cloud, not only one data center, because our data centers also can be the target of missile attacks, or just power stations, electricity. No electricity, no data centers. Of course, we have diesel generators and so on, but this is a time. It's anyway, it needs a time to reconnect, so it can mitigate the risk, but it's not disable this risk. And maybe the last point that's connected with my first phrase, practice at scale. You need to verify that all the things works. The resilience that you build, it really works. It works not only on the paper. No certification is not enough. You have to be sure that it really works, and you can scale quickly, and all the things will work fine as you expect. Unfortunately, it's an issue, as I already mentioned, not only in Ukraine. This is a global issue, and I don't know, to be honest, how to exclude it from this world, but we can pay more attention and remember that from these services, a lot of, unfortunately, we understood that a lot of lives can depend on some services. So maybe I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. I think you really well sort of covered the whole spectrum, starting from playing by rules against adversary who doesn't play by rules. I really love the panel. We have a lot of defense people, but in a way, your points are pushing that think of defense as beyond traditional military defense. You mentioned health or different other resilience. For those who haven't followed maybe that closely, if you remember a famous horrible attack on Ahmadi Children's Hospital, there were traces days before of cyber attacks and cyber penetrations which actually signaled a potential attack on children's hospitals. So just sort of, there's a lot of experiences where you see, which goes against Geneva Conventions, that in the war, civilian infrastructure should not be attacked, but it has a heavily digital component. And I think I like the practice part. I saw a short glimpse into that, how much we regulate and how much we practice. So that's a favorite topic in Europe. And with that, I actually want to make a segue to Danish minister, and I was glad to learn, and maybe you can reflect a little bit on that experience that you have a new title on resilience. Maybe that is something that Europe will learn from you. But you hold the EU presidency right now, so you have some advantage maybe to set a stage and agenda. So share with us a little bit from your experience in this new type of portfolio and what you see Europe can do in advancing this.
Well, thank you very much. And first of all, the Ministry of Resilience and Preparedness in Denmark was established last year in August to make sure that there is a stronger political focus on a matter that we have been not concerned enough about for decades. We're all investing heavily in military, but we also need to have a stronger focus on civil protection, on critical infrastructure, and that's basically the need that was considered needed more action in Denmark, and that's the whole purpose of the ministry, making sure that there's a strong coordination between different authorities, because I totally agree that those who want to stress our democratic societies, it might not only be military, but making civil unrest by attacking healthcare, and we are not stronger than the weakest link. And those who want us in a bad place, they will identify where can you make the most problems for our democratic societies, and they will look anywhere. So that means that, of course, there are true defense matters, but especially concerning the hybrid threat, we need to broaden our scope and look on the entire society. And of course, cybersecurity is a crucial matter in that perspective, because representing one of the most digitalized countries in the world, we really enjoy it. It's a huge benefit for citizens, for businesses. It makes our countries much more efficient, but it comes with vulnerabilities as well, and we need to address that. And I'm glad that the European Union has passed massive legislation over the recent years. And of course, having the presidency right now, we have a strong focus on making sure that it is not just legislation, but it is being implemented. And that includes the Cyber Resilience Act, the Cyber Solidarity Act, and the NIS2 directive, especially the last one, I think is of heavily importance to Europe, that we increase our cybersecurity on critical infrastructure, because we can see that critical infrastructure is targeted. We see it in the Baltic Sea, where subsea cables are being attacked. So there's a strong need that we also make sure that we not just pass legislation in Europe, but we also implement it, so it will be turned in effect. And of course, we are looking very much forward to working on the Commission's coming proposal for the revision of the Cybersecurity Act. This is something that affects all of us. There might be some matters in how you address the threat picture due to where you're geographically located in Europe, but the cybersecurity threat is crucial to all of us. Either if it's government initiated or it's criminals, it is a threat that we all need to address, and therefore it is something that is high on the agenda for the Danish presidency.
Excellent. I think you are, like you said, you are a good role model. Do you see practical steps? I mean, one of the practical steps I imagine is budgets. I mean, cybersecurity is not cheap. Do you see that these initiatives on a regulation level are followed up by Commission actions in financial or nation budgets?
Its follow-up on both the proposal for the MFF has increased budget, and also just implementing these two directives is even for a small country as Denmark is about €1 billion if you add up all of it. So it comes with a price, but I'm very glad to realize that there's been no negative discussion about the price, because everybody realized that it's a necessity, and the cost of not doing it will be dramatically larger. So there is a very strong common acknowledgement that this is something we need to spend more money on, because it's not just a matter of digital disturbance, it's a matter of critical infrastructure, it's a matter of protecting our societies.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Let me move, and I'm really glad we have Balkans here, that we can mix the experiences, and I'm glad we have a defense sector. So it's clear that in civilian side, we feel the threat, but sometimes these things are discussed in bubbles. Civilians talk about civilians, and militaries and defense building their own. So I want to hear from two countries, from Albania and then Kosovo, maybe, your experiences. And Albania specifically, we know historically you had a huge attack in 2022. Again, geopolitical correlations, right? Not happening out of blue, and it's not money-driven. It has a political reasoning behind it. You saw Americans heavily stepping in and helping you out and building up. Now, on top of that, you are able to innovate, and I'm happy to hear also a little bit on your AI innovation. I think audience have learned about AI minister. So you were able not only protect, but move on with digital. So if you would look, if the same things would happen in Europe at that scale, at nation level, how do we get European resilience? How do we get you not call Washington, but call Brussels?
Thank you. You're spot on, certainly. And if we go back to the massive attacks we had, both into our critical infrastructure, public services systems in 22, we had a very typical European reaction, which is, let's ask the Americans to come and help. And as a matter of fact, they did very diligently and very with huge support. And fast forward in 3 years, after a very capital-intensive effort, as you mentioned, these things are expensive. We did both a huge institutional reform, both for our civilian cyber efforts and our military cyber efforts, ending with creating a cyber command. But I would say that even if there is a question of discussing in silos, essentially cyber defense, it's a defense domain. Even in the civilian domain, it is a defense discipline, and we should think of it as a defense discipline. Otherwise, we don't connect the dots with regards to how important it is on resilience, etc. So with that in mind, and fast forward, and a lot of investments and a lot of support by the US, in the latest National Cyber Defense Index, Albania is ranked 15th worldwide, jumping in 39 positions over the past 2 years, really establishing the fact that the reform has paid its dividends. But overall, what also happened over these years in terms of the change of the mindset in the public administration overall, and the way we think the digital component, the cyber component, and the AI component increasingly, is that, of course, this thing is not the future. This is the present, and we better grapple with that reality now. And what really happened over the past 2 years, we created what was initially a large language model, initially designed for providing public services, digital public services, very much like the Estonian model, basically, trying to digitize everything. As we speak, 95% of public services are offered online. And then this large language model ended up being so infused by so many information, so many directives, so many also infused by our EU accession process dimension. And then the Prime Minister put forward this proposal of, well, it's so well informed as a model right now, so we better have it as a cabinet, initially as a cabinet member for consultation processes. And this started as a futuristic idea, but I can tell you that in 2 months' time we'll have a permanent presence of this model in cabinet meetings. I'm sure that probably most of you are familiar with a lot of important companies worldwide, and in their boards they already have these models supporting their decision making. And if I want to take a step back and think about the implication it has on democracy, well, it certainly puts a strain into how politicians and policymaking works, in the very simple fact that increasingly so, and especially in the Western, let's say, in the Western world, politicians are increasingly put into pressure to act as tech entrepreneurs. Because at the end of the day, the question of the efficiency of democracy as a model translates into the question of the efficiency of public services, the efficiency and resilience of infrastructure, and overall we have a competition of efficiencies. And if we want democracy to remain as a competitive, efficient model, we need to act that way. It certainly puts a strain in terms of administrative processes, because if you put AI into a consultation mechanism in a cabinet meeting, you run against the possibility that the AI model can already sketch the course and tell you what to do and do it fast. And it runs against the very idea of public decision-making being based on consultations on things that take time. So it's not easy to grapple with it. The way we have addressed it so far is that, of course, our AI minister, Diela, it's her name, which means sunshine in Albanian. From a regulatory perspective, she acts as a minister of state under the authority of the prime minister. She's a decreed minister, right? So it comes with certain authorities. The way we have circumscribed that authority for the moment is that we have tasked the model to focus essentially on things that have an immediate public impact, on public services first, and a second item, which I think has a high potential of delivering results, is everything related to our implementation of the EU acquis. As you know, Albania is increasingly so a front-runner in terms of the EU accession process, not least because of a consistent support also from Poland, also from the Baltic countries, which we are grateful for. And so basically we are circumscribing the initial inclusion of these models in government decision-making in cabinet-level meetings for things that relate to, having an impact into public services and having an impact into how we translate the EU acquis in national legislation. But as I said, the pressure is there in terms of what implications it has on the way, how fast we make decisions, and the implications in terms of the impact it has on public consultations. Because at the end of the day, we are public officials, elected officials, and we have a parliament, and we have our constituents to be transparent towards. So. We decided to take that risk, to take that chance. I'm hopeful that it will work and showcase the possibility maybe that, yes, even for small nations, that as you said, being under attack, being reliant on others' people capabilities, we can set the tone for a small nation maybe to have some level of digital sovereignty, and why not to showcase the possibility for democracy and AI to be compatible.
If I can make just a brief follow-up, the digital, and you mentioned in between, a number of people mentioned the trust and society, trusting digital services, which is part of democracy. Do you feel, what's the initial societal take on this AI minister? In a sense, do people trust? Is it cautious? Do we need to prove still?
Of course, it sort of has become a sort of a litmus test on the efficiency of the government. A lot of expectation, of course, a lot of curiosity, a lot of criticism as well, because it has constitutional implications. But again, as in the public discourse, in public opinion, public services, the cyber domain, there is this eruption of the digital in policymaking anyhow. And we decided to embrace that eruption rather than refrain from dealing with it. So there will be most probably a learning curve. So we have a progressive way of including that AI minister in decision making, starting by circumscribing, a perimeter of authority on a consultation level, and then we will have to decide about the decision making level of its implications. But certainly, AI is now pervasive in everything we do. People that claim differently, either they're lying about how much they're using AI tools, or they're trying to, doubt its impact. Once you change the mindset and say, look, this is not the future, it's the present, we better start regulating it and start including it, and through inclusion regulate the way it functions, then I think we have an opportunity to maybe showcase that it can serve democracy. But, the question is still up there.
Thank you. I'm glad to see we have a competition in Europe in digital domain. I think it's a very healthy. We really need to deliver. The governments and democracies are judged by what we can deliver in efficiency, and I think we have received a lot of criticism for not really delivering, but just talking. So glad to see competition. I'll go to Kosovo because myself coming from a small country, we really do not have a luxury to have millions of institutions. Cyber security in Latvia is part of Ministry of Defense. We keep civilian and military separately, but still it's a one institution. So you are also in a Ministry of Defense. So tell me, how do you feel being a small country, support from allies? We rely on allies a lot, from EU, from NATO. How confident you feel in building that capability, or what's maybe topical from your experience in your country now?
In Kosovo, we are really facing these challenges, especially related to digital era and technology that changed even way of war that is taking place in the world. And also Kosovo is not excluded from all of this, we can say, challenges that is facing also Ukraine and other countries here. But also we have support normally from international community on building our cyber defense capabilities. And in our Ministry of Defense, we actually have our central training center for cybersecurity for all institutions, because it's very important to understand that no, you cannot just separate the state institutions from private sector, because everything is interlinked. So when we do and when we have to do training and preparation for our state institution, we have to take in consideration also private sector, which is very interlinked to critical infrastructure. But first, I would like to go in general aspect of how digital era is affecting democratic societies, which is really linked to the opportunity that both democratic societies and authoritarian regimes are having with the digital era. And coming from a military background, I listed 4 advantages and 4 disadvantages of digital era and digital innovations related to democratic societies. First, I believe from advantages is the participation of citizens in decision-making. Having this, if we can say, digital revolution allows citizens to participate more on decision-making of politicians by influencing and being able to express their opinions. The other one is access to information. Now everyone can have access to information, voters, and to documents of our institutions in order to be familiar what is going on in our institutions. That was in the past really issue for citizens. Inclusivity, so everyone is included in, we can say, society and state level. So being able also to influence to representative, and also opportunity to two-way communication, citizens with government directly through their platforms. And disadvantages are, again, for disinformation, the spread of conflict narratives and other narratives that we are facing all the time, foreign interference. We are witnessing a lot of foreign interference in elections and in many other things from non-state and state actors, shaping of public discourse. In this digital era, it's very easy to shape the public discourse, mainly orienting it to material profit versus values, and also algorithms that can drive or to different extremisms. And I believe also that those who used to live in communist times understand how important was for dictators to have earth and eyes everywhere. And I believe that dictators and authoritarian regimes will use this digital evolution and revolution, we can say, in order to, we can say, achieve their dream to become totalitarian regimes, because mostly authoritarian regimes are driving themselves to totalitarianism in order to control everything, society and people. And that can be one risk that countries that are living under authoritarian regimes can face. And in terms of defense, really those who are coming from a military community used to believe for a long time that technology, it's one means that is changing character of war, but natural war is staying always fundamentally human, and it's always destructive. So with these changes, we really are experiencing changes of character of war. Still, natural war is staying as it is now, but I believe that in future, having in consideration that AI development, we will face the times where natural war will change, because normally AI is not human, and AI can be part of natural war. So currently, drones and everything are changing only character of war, but I believe that if we do not have, as humankind, enough presence and control of AI, we will face times where natural war will not be more fundamentally human, but will become something else that we currently don't know what is it. And normally for authoritarian regimes, I believe that AI will not be beneficial in the future due to the fact that AI cannot be intimidated. Like in Albania, they did for first time the step to include AI in governance. And I believe that having AI controlled normally and having presence of people inside of it will allow, we can say, democratic regimes, democratic societies to work and function in democratic way, but also will be good mean to, we can say, to be obstacle for authoritarian regimes to have control and to have more, we can say, to intimidate people. Because I will take one example. If Russia has in its own constitution or laws human rights, free of speech and other, you can say, articles addressed in their documents, then AI cannot read it differently. One person can read it differently if it's intimidated, but AI cannot do that. So I believe future will be a little unsecure, but still, if we are careful and if we regulate this, because now we have to really to address this in global aspect. It's kind of innovation of money. So in digital times, we have to kind of create joint global trust for system and to regulate with regulation and laws, everything, in order to not face challenges in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'm glad to hear this high level of our, as you said, post-Soviet and communist experience countries. We have a very high alert immune system, also on digital domain, not to be compromised. You know, we want to remain democracies. We don't want to become surveilled or automatized. We want to preserve democratic. So for us, it's important, and I'm glad to hear that from Minister of Defense, whose role has to protect and keep a nation alive, is, you know, thinking much broader. So for audience, just bear with me. We still have 2 speakers. I have each one a question for Poland and for France. But then I would love you to come in with any questions. As you can see, we have a very diverse experience, so I think very much aligned on thinking. But I would love, if you have some questions or topics you want to raise, please prepare. We still have a time to go. So I want to go back now to France and Poland. I actually would like to ask a French colleague. Sovereignty and European capabilities come up often, also in this forum. And I see the challenge, right? We have to be sovereign. France speaks a lot about that. We have to have our own capabilities, but we have to face China's sort of value system cascaded down in technology solutions and being able to counter that. And we have to preserve the values. So where do we focus and invest? Do we build our own? We live in this platform world, right? A lot of American-dominated. How do you prioritize? Give us some practical hints.
Thank you, and thank you for having me here. I assume I owe my presence here to the fact that France is a partner nation, and my presence, I mean, as only a director among ministers and state secretaries, so thank you so much for having me. Anyway, I think you're right. I think this is exactly the circle that we have to square. But I think if we take it back, if we walk it back a little bit, and inspired by the conversations I just heard, which were extremely enlightening, I think it's clear from what previous speakers have said that democracy has become extremely contested, sometimes a battlefield, sometimes a physical one, because Ukrainians are fighting for freedom, for democracy, for our freedom and for our democracy. But sometimes also, and we were discussing offline, a virtual one, an electoral one, and you were mentioning offline the Moldova case. It's very clear there, and I think, you know, French Minister Barrot was clear there too, that what's at stake is not only fair contests among different candidates, among which people can choose in an enlightened way, but more is at stake because our adversaries have chosen to weaponize democracy effectively. So this is what we're up against, and this is maybe why there are so many defense officials on this panel, on a panel about democracy, because the hour is grave in a way. So I think the good news is that there is much more awareness that, as you put it very well in your panel notes, the digital pillar of democracies is an integral part of our democracies, because this was said, and therefore needs to be protected. So we need to be clear-eyed. Minister Barrot, who was here yesterday, just made a very impactful, I think, speech at Harvard last week that I commend to you all, in which he said exactly that we need to be clear-eyed what's at stake here. You talked about values, and also that it's a battle for public opinion, hence a speech to make those points, hence panels and conferences like this one, because we are democracies, and democracies cannot do without public opinion and without public consent for the policies that they propose. This is the difference with autocracy. Autocracy can hold a certain amount of time without consent, but even autocracies care about about consent. Certainly, consent for democracy in and of itself is crucial, and that people are aware of the danger is crucial, because otherwise we will not be efficient, especially as others, as you said, technologically savvy regimes are using those technologies probably against us, and in any case against democracies. From a defense perspective, purely defense, it's also about circumventing so our adversaries' techniques that seek to circumvent our deterrence through from below. It's what we call in French le contournement de la dissuasion par le bas, and it's the idea which is present in our strategies, including in our most recent defense strategies, that we are pretty hardwired and pretty efficient in the high-end stuff. France is a nuclear power, NATO is a nuclear alliance, so we're more or less good there. And we are gearing up in conventional, and all of us are making a lot of efforts and taking a lot of expenditure for that, extra expenditure, you know, the Hague pledge, etc. And therefore, the weakest link, as Danish minister was saying, may be below those nuclear and conventional thresholds into the hybrid and effectively into those that seek to weaken our resolve. And the resolve is the fabric of war, you know. If you want to fight, you fight. If you don't want to fight, even if you have the best hardware, and our Ukrainian friends are proving it to us daily, then you capitulate. You know, the Afghan government capitulated. They had pretty good hardware. So, you know, it's about the will to fight, and eroding that will to fight becomes the center of gravity of the enemy, and therefore keeping the will to fight has to become our own center of gravity. This is why it's a topic of specific interest for defense. But defense is only part of the answer as we think about cyber defense, Minister was telling about, but also about this fight against disinformation and information manipulation. The key also lies in education, and this is very clear, and from a very young age, you know, training critical minds is crucial. In societal resilience, and our Danish colleague was alluding to that, and you were also saying many sectors are concerned, health, energy, but many others. And yes, in regulation, because freedom of speech cannot be the rule of anarchy. So I think when we think about these things from a defense, but also from a more holistic perspective, we come up with all these ideas and strategies. Sometimes the relevant echelon is a European one, to answer your question. Sometimes it's an allied one because we have a transatlantic partnership that is strong and enduring. We want it to keep it so. But sometimes it's a national one, but we need to play on all those echelons because in the end, what's at stake is our values and our democracies and our way of life. And I don't think that if and when people lose, and we're in a country that knows what it is to lose democracy, to lose freedom, to lose statehood, to lose existence, sometimes then after that it's too late, and then we will only be in a position to cry or to regret what we have lost, and probably we can act and be decisive before we come to that point.
Thank you. I think it gave a very sort of focused on what we need to do, and the priority list just gets bigger. So, Polish minister, I'm sorry for keeping you the very last, but not the least, and I really want to express also gratitude. I've been coming to Warsaw Forum, I think, for nearly a decade, and your government, never mind which one, we've seen many elections in between, and we've seen wars and no wars and invasions. You've been always present here, and I think this forum has greatly benefited from all the different levels you've been participating in these discussions and driving. So really, thank you for joining also this discussion. And you have a portfolio of digital. And digital, as you hear, you know, goes through everything: air, sea, land, defense, hospitals, elections. At the end of the day, what French minister, their director from ministry, you said, minds and hearts, right? Future position. Minds and hearts are the ones that decide. You know, you can have the best equipment, but minds and hearts of people who are not at war, when the things are not black and white, as in Ukraine, but people are not in war, is also about trust. Do we really trust in government to put our minds and hearts and put an effort to do? So everything comes to digital down. So if you can reflect, you had a presidency, you've seen massive cyber attacks. I read about recently about water supply. You know, you can see how much it is non-military. So reflect on some priorities, hearing what Ukrainian colleagues said and others, and then I really encourage audience, we will have a 10-15 minutes discussion. Please get ready your questions.
First of all, thank you for having me at this fascinating panel. And as I've heard speeches of my colleagues, I see that we have a lot in common, and I'm also glad that our teams are in daily touch, not only from the political side, but also from this technical one. And from the political side, as our presidency wrapped up at the middle of this year. For example, in March, we've conducted our informal digital council only on the topic of cybersecurity, alongside with our friends from Polish Ministry of Defense. So for the first time, two ministries hand in hand were in the place, and we gathered also for the first time ministers responsible for cybersecurity, because when you think about trust in public sector, you mean not only disinformation attacks and the state of the discussion, but first of all, you mean by that to have free access to your public services. And that's why investment in cybersecurity is so important, it's the foundation. And that's why our government, within the last several months, invested about €1 billion in cybersecurity in this critical infrastructure, because we invested €1 billion to our local governments, to our water supply infrastructure, and to our government critical infrastructure, because we see that's the key. And not only because of this example you mentioned, the attempt to attack our water supply system in one of our largest cities, but also because of 2,000 daily reports on possible cyber attacks in Poland. And this number is growing. We have the growth of more than 30% year by year. And when I started my tenure as a minister, I've seen reports of 600, 700 reports. Now we have 2,000 daily on average. So we see that this approach needs to be systematic. And from the European level, during our presidency, we adopted the cybersecurity blueprint, the clear instruction on how to react on the European level in the case of the mass cyber attack, the mass incident. And that's the beginning of those works. And Danish presidency continues those works. And I would like to thank Torsten and other representatives of the Danish government of the exemplary teamwork during our presidency, because this is how it should look like. And on our internal level, it's not only about investment, it's also about the cooperation, because I mentioned the cooperation between Ministry of Digital and Ministry of Defense, but it's not enough. That's why we started our PW Cyber program of cooperation between the government and private companies, because we are fully aware that to build a cyber-resilient society, we are not enough in terms of only public institutions, and that's why we started this cooperation. We strengthened our cyber resilience, and with those foundations, you can think about how to check possible attacks also in the infosphere. And that's why, for example, on September the 10th, during the drone attack from Russia, we also experienced the attack of disinformation. And on this day, during the night of September the 10th, we started to test new solutions, how to prevent disinformation from spreading, for example, by naming it. We started to publish lines of narratives of disinformation. We started to explain it point by point on our government sites. And now we are working on the system where disinformation is as accessible as the explanation that this is disinformation. So there's a lot of work to do. However, we are not alone, and that's why I'm glad that we can do it together, not only within our country, but also with our European friends.
Thank you. I'm looking around, so is this time any questions in the audience? Or we've been giving so much food for thought, or... I'm sorry, you are really not in it. I'll share my mic.
Sorry. My name is Sabur Shah Daudzai. I belong to Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, the Taliban have cut internet and mobile service for almost 24 hours, leaving millions of people without access and communication. From your all perspective, how the EU should respond when regime weaponize digital infrastructure against the civilians? Thank you.
Anyone feels? Yeah.
Well, I think it's a good example that the digitalized opportunities can be weaponized, like you said, because removing the possibilities of communication and internet services is crucial in order to make sure that the public receive truthful information. And there are globally too many regimes that are controlling what information their public can receive. And that's because they want to defend their non-democratic system, because the best way to improve democratic values is to make sure that the public has access to free information and freedom of speech. So I cannot condemn a situation like you described enough, because the access for the public to free information, that is core values that we are sharing and we are trying to promote as much as we can, because that is in the heart of democracy, that the public has access to free information. So anyone who is weaponizing that opportunity is acting against our values.
Yeah, I don't want to put Vitaly on a spot. Would you be able to innovate the way out when you are governing, when you are cut out of the internet? Is there a way how we can work around? And actually, I want to reflect on that and also say, again, thanks to Poland, you had a very close call right now. If Poland's support with Starlinks would not be made available, you would be, you know, certain areas of your country would lose that connectivity. That's, for military, is critical. Here you see whole civilian. Are we back to leaflets? I remember, I was thinking of Afghanistan and remember the times when you basically dropped the leaflets. That was the only way how to reach. Also, I think here resistance in Poland in Soviet times, right? Any way how we can innovate through, and where should we be investing to help?
It's a good question from you, thank you. And to be honest, I have two different theses for it, right? The first of one, maybe it's not 100% correlates with your question, yeah, but we also experienced in mobile telecommunications down in last year. One of mobile operator was down, as a result of cyber attack, was down for 1 week. Full down. But I was there, right? And I can't say that it makes a lot of impact of it. It was impact, of course. So it's a crucial impact. But how the people reacted to it? In Ukraine, we have three main telecom operators. And most of people just go to the closest shop and buy one more new SIM card and continue working with the competitor. So just waiting for 1 week, and that's all. Of course, IoT devices and so on, it's an issue. But it was result of enemy's cyber attack. If we will consider the risk of decision of disabling mobile operators, right, by politician decision, This is absolutely another story. And to be honest, it's hard to me even how to solve it for citizens, how to resist on it. Of course, you maybe the market, the transparent market can help you because broadband, on-ground telecommunications, but once again, if politically it's connected to only one IX point of communication, right, and can be disabled fully. So I'm not sure that I know the correct answer, but definitely you can build resilience, you can build protected communications, because to disable it to zero, it's almost impossible. Internet is a very resilient thing, and you can use a lot of things, right? We know protocols of internet that can't be controlled. Of course, it's not so convenient without cats and Instagrams and so on, but you can share the information. You can share the important information. And it's almost impossible to stop it. So this is our digital era, and so maybe we can spot more light on these alternative methods. Why not? Maybe this is all answer that I have for this is difficult question. Thank you.
You had added?
That's why we need to invest in the European satellite communication systems, and that's why Polish government decided on Friday to invest additionally 100 million euros into IRIS² initiative, and I believe that's the way to build alternative, resilient system of communications.
Excellent, thank you. I see 3 hands. I will collect all of them, and then we can just see. Where is the microphone? Okay, we start with one. We'll go
can I one remark? Please don't sit down. It's 3 seconds. Yeah, I don't know why I miss satellite telecommunications. It's really an option because, as you know, our front line works mostly on satellite communication. So it really solves the issue because, and actually Ukraine can't control this traffic. Even if Ukraine wants to, in one day would like to apply some censorship or something like that, it can't be done on without brands, right? With satellite.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So I collect quickly 3 questions.
Thanks, Gary Keller from Ottawa, Canada, Strategy Corp Geopolitical Advisory. Thanks for the panel. The Kosovo Defense Minister talked about 4 advantages and 4 disadvantages. And I would say those of us who live in Western societies, who haven't lived under authoritarian societies, we too face the same challenges around how citizens perceive information online and the risk of disinformation. So a question for the panel, it seems to me that the 4 disadvantages outweigh the 4 advantages. How do elected officials and civil society work together to turn those disadvantages less strongly and advantages more strongly?
Okay, can you pass the mic here quick? I'll collect all of them and then we'll do sort of final tour incorporating the answers.
Thank you. My name is Miao Boya. I came from Taiwan. And as you might know, Taiwan is a very vibrant democracy. But we also are facing a very severe disinformation attack from China. So my question is, how do you balance the freedom of speech and combating disinformation? What's the key point? Thank you.
So, and if you can pass to... Maybe it's the one call.
Thank you so much, Maja Mazurkiewicz, TVP World. And digital pillar is super important, and countering disinformation and influence operations is the key. But I didn't hear one thing. One thing that I believe that is key in countering disinformation is the strategic communication. And the UK government is doing a big lesson on it. But I wonder if you are doing a lesson also on it, because you've been saying to communicate with the citizens, but do you know how to communicate with them so they listen to you?
Oh. I think a lot of that goes back to this hearts and minds and taking disadvantages into advantages, and sort of where is the balance between freedom of speech and accountability. I'll think maybe we go just one by one, because I see we have a bit more than a minute, so crisp and clear answers.
Reverse order, thank you very much. And I will answer with previous experience where we drafted and published a report on information manipulation when I was in policy planning in 2018. And one of the things that we learned on the basis of benchmarking, worldwide actually benchmarking, as we were trying to figure out how to craft our own system to fight information manipulation, is that democracies need to fight as democracies. So freedom of speech is the paramount value that we're here to protect. We're not here to impinge on it. But when you balance it, you talked about balance, and it is a question of balance with what was said earlier about by the Danish minister about the right to access quality information and what you call information. Then it becomes a democratic debate that's interesting, because you can define what is quality information, how it is spread, and conversely, what is information manipulation. Not everything is worth the same, and that just as you have on what you eat increasingly labels that tell you what the quality of what you're about to eat, you can have labels and things that are civil society initiatives, journalists, media, etc., that have, for example, a label to label this is quality information. You see it sometimes on Wikipedia, this is a quality article. These kind of things, it has to be civil society, because it's not the business of government to decide what is quality information and what is not. But you can create that ecosystem and that incentive so that people will be aware that there is garbage out there, also in the informational space, and that some of that is instrumentalized by adversaries to weaken our societies.
Okay, colleagues, I really encourage short answers. We are out of time, but I would like you to have a few words.
I will try to answer shortly. Like, in order to mitigate impact that is coming from disadvantages that we mentioned, I believe that one means having national resiliency and society resiliency, working more with society in order to understand that whatever is coming, that doesn't mean that it's coming right and it's right information. And to build national resiliency, we have to leave a little aside this digital communication with population, we can say. We have to have more hands and boots in population and discuss with people. And I believe that mitigating the impact of these disadvantages will strengthening the advantages automatically.
Thanks. Vitaly?
We'll try to be very short and cover all three questions. Yeah, and I think that the key is trust. Trust with your people. You have to provide very strong communication with proofs and build the trust to the source of this communication to you. Actually, in Ukraine, we have even maybe more than one center who works 24/7 on analyzing the messages that includes into Ukrainian information area and analyze it for its real information or disinformation. So I spent my previous weekend fully because one popular blogger don't have enough time to analyze some fake rise it, and my weekend goes down. I spent it on the work, but it was absolutely fake, right? And we provided our communication in 2 hours, as I remember, and we saw that a lot of people stopped looking for it. It's not a 100%. Some haters gonna hate. We have always them, but this trust with quick reaction with proofs. I believe this answer.
Thank you.
Very rapidly, I think one topic that again, conjugates every aspect of the threats is we come back to the idea of how efficient our democracies are. So, both in terms of Stratcom and disinformation, accessibility of disinformation, as our Polish colleague said, everything that allows the digital component, cyber, AI involvement into governance that supports government efficiency is some ground gained on disinformation. That's how I see it. That's how we work on it. Because at the end of the day, the expectations of our peoples for better lives, more secure lives, and better futures, at the end of the day, it's about how efficient democracy is. So if we can make democracy more efficient through these tools, all the better with regard to how we fight disinformation. It's the only way. Stratcom per se, yes, I think all allies within NATO have a strategy on that and have centers that work on that. But again, disinformation is a political tool in our internal politics as well. It's not only a foreign threat, and it has become a daily tool. So again, it comes back to how efficient democracy as a process is and decision-making and democratic consultation is. So that's how I would reflect. Hence, our inclusion of AI into governance in a very, maybe curious way, but I think that's the only way forward. Thank you.
So investing in building efficiency for trust.
To quickly comment all those questions, I would like to point out that more and more disinformation and content in the internet as a whole is created not by people but by automated accounts. So on the one hand, it's a growing challenge because mass content is created automatically, so the response needs to be automated as well. But on the other hand, human rights, including rights of free speech, is for humans, not for bots. So that's how we need to treat it differently, and that's how we need to do it.
Excellent. Danish colleague.
It is fundamental that you have free speech and you have the right to your own opinion, but you don't have the right to your own facts. And that's what we need to address when somebody is deliberately using false information, made-up stories, and we need to address that it's not correct. And there is also, we need to have a public that are able to be critical about information they receive. So there is an educational part of this as well. Making sure that everything that pops into your feed, it might not be true. So we have a strong need to have independent media with high credibility, that the public trust, that they operate and they can be critical against government, and they play a crucial role in our democracy. And upholding public trust to our media is, for my part, that I think that is vital in order to combat disinformation, because we can see it's increasing, and we need to call it when we see it, making people more resilient in what they pay attention to, so they address things more critically with a high level of educational background, making sure that, well, just because you see it many times in your feed, it doesn't make it right.
Thank you. With my apologies to organizers, I'm not going to sum up. I'm sure you all picked up the right things or useful things. Just a round of applause to panelists and to the organizers being honest.